finding your passion. What do you love to do, and what do you have a story? What have you gone through? Because so often that's where people build their businesses around, of like you and I. It's like, yes, I'm menopausal, perimenopausal. I have had a story and a transition using strength training and nutrition to better my health. How can you just start thinking along those lines. I don't think you need to hire a business coach immediately. I think you need to start just kind of figuring it out, and all you can do is putting one foot in front of the other. And
Hello, everyone, and welcome to RD's Thriving in Private Practice, where we share our collective wisdom about building a nutrition practice and get inspired. Joining me today is Kim Duffy. Kim is passionate about empowering women over 40 to achieve their optimal health and fitness goals. As the owner of Strength in Nutrition in Minnesota, Kim provides personalized nutrition and fitness coaching, helping clients navigate the challenges and opportunities that come with aging. In addition to individual support, Kim offers group nutrition coaching and virtual on-demand fitness programs and meal planning. As a woman in her 50s, Kim is eager to share her knowledge and experience as a registered dietitian of over 28 years and a personal trainer for the past 3 years to help other women see this is not the end, but only the beginning. Welcome, Kim.
thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll start in the usual way, and let's hear a bit about your journey as a dietitian and what led you to this specialty.
Sure. So I have been a dietitian since 1995. I've kind of worked here and there and everywhere because I have 3 kids that I have raised and was fortunate enough to be able to stay home with off and on here. So, I did some part-time gigs working in like gyms and rehab facilities. But I would say the majority of my experience comes from working in the clinical setting in the hospital, in a large level 1 trauma hospital here outside of St. Paul, Minnesota. And most of my time there was spent in the outpatient cancer center. I kind of bopped around in the hospital and got a lot of experience, but that was where I really, I think, spent a lot of my passion. I loved working with the cancer patients. I loved helping them through the ins and outs of treatment and chemoradiation, surgeries, and really loved working there. But then back, after COVID hit 2021, I left the hospital with one of my coworkers, and we decided we were just going to start up our own business. And we both really wanted, a business where we could be active and we could really help people in the prevention of chronic illness as compared to, just treating the acute diseases in the hospital where, most dietitians realize, we get like a one-time shot to talk to them or educate them or to try to, touch them somehow. And a lot of times, these people are sick and not necessarily in the mindset to really listen or be able to absorb what you're saying. So we really wanted to work with people who were kind of ready and in the outside setting and a little more motivated, wanting to make some positive changes in their life. So, then I started out with my partner, and then after about 1.5 years, she had a little one because we were in kind of very different parts of our lives, and she decided to stay home with him. So now it's just me, and I have to say, as an entrepreneur, it was probably the best because I was able to really niche down and really focus in my area that I'm truly passionate about. And it's, intimately personal to me because perimenopause and menopause, I'm in it. I'm in the midst of menopause. I know everything they're going through. I really love learning about it and all of the ins and outs and like newest research and stuff like that on it. So like I said, it was kind of divine intervention. And so over the past 1.5 years, I've really been focusing in that niche and trying to build up, my clientele, my business around that. So that's kind of what led me here.
Great, great. And perimenopause and menopause, as we all have seen, are such hot topics right now, in the nutrition world and medical world too, which is really exciting. And I'm so happy to see that there are many, younger dietitians interested in learning about it too and understanding it. And
Mhm.
I suspect that part of it is to prepare themselves for the inevitability.
Yeah.
But what I find so interesting, being in the same age group as you, is that there's no preparation that will ever prepare you for how it's going to affect you.
Not at
And,
all.
it may be and probably is true that, being someone who's in it might be a better fit for someone else who's in it too.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a interesting thing. So,
What I find so interested is talking to women and they don't even realize, like they'll be going to their doctors and they're treating them for all these symptoms and they don't even realize they're actually in perimenopause and, going down that path. And sometimes they're just totally blown away by when you say that to them, like, oh, I never even thought about that. Yeah.
why am I so anxious? How come I can't sleep? Right?
I can't sleep. I'm so irritable. And
Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
get hot really easy.
Yeah. I know, it's so funny. Okay, so let's just talk momentarily about some of the basic strategies. How did you set yourself up? Do you work with an EMR? What's sort of like your tech stack kind of thing?
Oh, goodness. So that has definitely been a progression since I started. I would say I started for sure with Practice Better because I knew I needed some kind of electronic health record that I could, house my schedule and my client information and all that stuff. So I mean that I would say that was kind of where I started. I do not work with insurance, so I know there might be other platforms that are a little better for insurance, although I think you definitely can do it within Practice Better. So that was kind of the first thing that I started with. And as a personal trainer, I also have Trainerize. So that, I guess there might be other dietitians there who are working in the same field. And Trainerize is just where I can house workout programs for my clients. They can, it's totally a phone app where they can get in, they can access their workouts, they can see form videos. It's a super nice platform when it comes to the training piece of it. You can also sell through there. And then here this past year, I got into ConvertKit, which what I have to say was an absolute game changer when it comes to email marketing. I had my website through Squarespace to start with, and I guess that was also another piece that we did right from the beginning is to get a website so we could have somewhere to help people to find us. And through Squarespace, you could do some email marketing, and I didn't even realize how minimal it was until I got into ConvertKit. And I have to say that I wish I had gotten into there from the very beginning because it's just such a great way to be able to automate things, to build up your clientele through, lead magnets, and to be able to nurture them and, through email sequences. And, you can even sell products through there too. I'm trying to, I know I had this written down here. So some of the other things that, when it comes to software, of course, like the usual social media type things, I do have ManyChat and Blaze AI when it comes to social media platforms. The Blaze AI is kind of a newer one. That's just, I think it helps to automate a little bit of the social media content if that is something that you have to do. I know not everybody uses the social media, but it's so important to, to try to find, be somewhere you can actually find those clients and then start, bring them into your email list. But so yes, I use that. And QuickBooks, I think, is another really good one to start with when it comes to just your accounting and business. I have an accountant that can get right in there and, do everything, see everything, and helped us to kind of set things up. And that was just, as compared to having a shoebox with all your receipts in it, I think it's important to, that's definitely something that I would recommend paying for. And then I would say, I guess this isn't really your tech stack, but I do highly recommend, business coaching. If you're brand new to this, I do think it's so helpful to find somebody who can help you in your specific field. And that can be a hard thing because they can be super expensive. But, an investment in your business, definitely.
Yeah, finding the right fit for a business coach can take a couple tries, unfortunately, but, if we don't
100%.
have any, um, I don't like the word business sense because that doesn't mean that you actually know the ins and outs of what it takes to run a business. So, I think more of just understanding some of the fundamentals of financials and, how to build a sales funnel and a marketing funnel. How do you do that, right?
Oh
And
gosh.
sure, you
Yeah.
can learn on your own, but a lot of mistakes get made along the way, and
Mhm.
be a huge time saver to have somebody kind of hold your hand
100%.
and guide you. Yeah, yeah,
100%. I
yeah.
think that's the biggest thing is saving yourself time using someone else's experience and wisdom to maybe avoid some of those mistakes that you might be making, just trying to muddle through on your own because not about you, but like dietitians, we're like numbers, how the body functions. And when you throw in their business, marketing, funnels, I had no clue what the heck a funnel was when I first started. It's all very foreign, the whole technology piece. So
Right, right, right. And would you mind, and you don't need to, but would you mind sharing like what your average monthly expenses are?
Oh, okay. So as of right now, with my software programs, I'm probably right around $1,000. Um, That does include also rent. I independently train from a gym. I don't have a brick and mortar building, but I independently train out of a gym. And so that it does include that rent. And as of next month, I'll be starting to train from my home. So that is that's about a third of that thousand. So you can see that, that might be a little bit less. And then month to month, depending on what, if I am investing back in the business, if I am paying for a business coach, I do have someone that I have hired like a retainer. I spend about $450 on her a month, and she is absolutely amazing. She is a ConvertKit guru. So she helps me to automate things, but she also has rebuilt my website, and she also is an SEO type person. So she's one of those people that, you're doing a launch and you get stuck and you're like, I don't know what's going wrong. And you reach out to her, like something's not working, and she's takes minutes, and it's invaluable. It can kind of seem like a lot of money, but it's well worth it to have that tech person who can really help you to save time,
Right.
in the automation piece so that you're not doing everything manually, which I think, when you start out, that's usually what you're doing because you don't know any other way.
Right. And if we're doing it on our own, we might not see the return on investment and then kind of give up. But if you've got someone guiding you, even if she's
Mhm.
expensive, you might see that return
Mhm.
more sooner or more in a guaranteed way eventually over time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you mentioned social media. Which
Mhm.
channels do you currently inhabit?
All of them, which is yeah. No, I do Instagram, Facebook. I have done a lot of like meal prep, high protein meal prep type videos, and I had a recipe actually go viral on TikTok. So I probably have most of my followers on TikTok, although that can be a little more challenging to, because you can't use like ManyChat automation. So, you have to kind of do everything manually to try to bring them over to your email. But and then I also have really been working on Pinterest because Pinterest is such a great way to drive people to your website. Whereas, social media like Instagram, Facebook, it's like you post things, if they bomb, they're not going to like down the road all of a sudden renew and do well, right? It's kind of like you have that one chance and then it's over. Whereas Pinterest, you post these pins, and if you're consistent with it, you can see this is the same with TikTok too, is like some of these videos and stuff, people are like watching down the road, and all of a sudden you see that they go crazy again, where people are starting to look at them. So but I do think Pinterest is one of those, you can put those infographics, you can put the short carousels. I think they have to be under 5 pages, or even the single, and you stick your URL on there, and it can drive people to your website to especially for like your freebies and lead magnets.
Okay. Do you create all of your own content and all of the different variations of said content for
Mhm.
each platform? Because that can take a lot of time. Yeah.
Yeah. So up until a couple of months ago, yes, I was doing it 100% on my own. I hired a VA through a company called Outsource Doers, and I don't know if you've done that before, but it's a company that they train these VAs to do marketing, social media. They can do SEO. You can put them in for like badges or whatever that teach them new and different things. And so I hired one on for about 2 months, and she finishes up at the end of the month. So she's been helping me with a lot of my content, not 100% of it, but she is definitely helping with a lot of like the posts and carousels. But I think it really did make me realize just when you are your brand, it's really hard to just give it to somebody because you have to teach them what's your brand voice. Like I remember one of the first carousels she did, she put like these pictures and it was like this young 20-something-year-old, really skinny girl. And I went, do you know who I am? So do you know my business? And I'm like, I want a woman that looks like me. And then all of a sudden she went and she was doing like 70 or 80-year-old women. So I was like, I want a woman that's kind of like, looks like me. We're not looking for, tiny, skinny bodies. I want somebody that looks normal. And, this is who my ideal client avatar are. So, it can be challenging, but you got to pay for that. And, it can take a while. I've never, been a boss. I've never had people under me to manage and stuff. So that was definitely a learning curve.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to invest a lot of time up front to get someone up to speed before they can actually do that sort of replaceable part of your job for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, it's like the business coach pieces that you really do need to, trial and error of like, okay, maybe this person didn't work. Maybe I want somebody that's more, lives in my field who knows fitness and nutrition and knows perimenopause and menopause so that they can kind of help to add new perspectives and new views.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk about lead magnets.
Okay.
And do you have more than one lead magnet? Do you have one that just outperforms the others? Have you made some that are just absolute flops?
Oh gosh, yes. I have one right now that I was so excited about, and my VA helped me to build it and stuff like that. And it is really going nowhere. And but I think that's just something you don't know. I mean, you have something as dietitians, I think sometimes we'll be like, yes, gut health is what people need to know about, or I don't know, hormone balance and stuff. And sometimes that wording, like, it just kind of falls flat. Somebody might not really think, but they'll say, I don't know, like, yeah, I have brain fog all the time. Like I don't remember anything, and then you talk to them about hormone balance and, they don't necessarily realize that's what they need to learn about, but putting it into their words, it makes such a difference. But no, I have quite a few lead magnets over the past, 3 years. And I definitely think the more simple that you make them and the more they speak to that person, the better they're going to do. So I did one that was called The Power of Protein in Perimenopausal Weight Gain. And that one definitely did really well starting off. It's kind of slowed since then, but, it also goes to show, it's like, maybe all of your clientele have seen it already, and that was the big burst. But yeah, that's a hard one. But I definitely think one of the things when I first started out that was hard for me is just how much free stuff. I felt weird, like, oh, I'm giving away this free information, and when will anyone ever, pay me for my information or for my knowledge? But realizing, the importance of that, the whole email marketing and these lead magnets are just the key and so vital for bringing people in, and showing them, what you can do.
Right.
And, your experience and knowledge. So
yeah, if you can bring them along to just the next step, right? And maybe solve either a part of a problem or a little problem, or give them a little bit of like, oh, I can do this. What else you got? Right. Then you're starting to kind of bring them into your ecosystem and nurture that. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. lead magnets are tough, I think, because we spend all this time and then, they flop or, you never know. You never know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what about your marketing? So you've got your social media channels, and then you're
Mhm.
drawing them in with the lead magnets. You're promoting the lead magnets, and then you bring them in finally. And how do you bring them on board? Like, what's your sort of onboarding process?
Um, well, as far as the lead magnets, um, it kind of puts them into that nurturing funnel, right?
Hmm.
Where I'm trying to get them to giving them free information, supporting them in any way I can, and then ultimately moving them towards maybe even like a less expensive product of mine. I don't know if you the whole idea of I'm trying to think of the term when they talk about it, but it's like basically getting them used to clicking on you or for the information that you're providing. It gets them kind of used to that. And if you can get them to buy a small product from you, it's going to increase the likelihood down the road that they might be more inclined to buy something more for you. So, nurturing my email list, but then also, having my interest list for my program. So I have a program called Nourish You, which is a 12-week nutrition coaching. It's a group nutrition coaching with a lot of live calls with me and a lot of accountability and support week to week. So I launch that a couple of times a year, but then the off times trying to bring people onto that interest list, which is frequently just telling them about this program and then giving them updates of when it starts and getting them kind of primed and ready for when that program starts, a couple times a year, but then also giving them discounts and bonuses and things for just being on that interest list. And that's kind of a nice vehicle to get people into my program. I have to say that, when I do launch my programs, I probably get the majority of my people from that interest list, from those people who've already said, I am interested in this program.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
So is this particular program your primary product or service, or do you have more than one program? Do you do more individual stuff?
I have to say right now, my meat and potatoes are one-on-one personal training as of right
Okay.
now. So I'm still in that kind of, ultimately I'd love to build my online courses and more of the hands-off type stuff for, as I get to the point where maybe I don't want to work in person anymore. But the majority of my, income each month comes from my one-on-one personal training clients. And then I also, my one-on-one nutrition coaching clients that I
Wow.
do virtual. So
Yeah.
yes, my course is just I'm still building it. I've just launched it twice, so still working on that one.
So the personal training really was a boon. Like that was a really good
Yeah.
move with that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I think to have a personal trainer who's also a dietitian, because a lot of times you'll have the trainers who might cross the lines into nutrition or have a certification but to have someone who, really has that experience and that knowledge. I think people realize that because a lot of times people may have come to me through Google, found my website, called me, started doing nutrition coaching with me, and then they will like stop nutrition coaching and actually start doing personal training. And I've had kind of people go both ways with it. So it's definitely kind of goes hand in hand, which has been wonderful.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you have any like what are your plans for growth right now? What are you looking at? It sounds like you want to start doing more training at home. Is there anything else that you've got in the works?
Yeah. So I really am working on the online course creation type space. I'm right now. I just built a new lead magnet, which I'm really hoping does well. It's called 20 Tips to Crush Menopause. I feel like it's a little more catchy. People, it's like 20 tips. Come on, like that's a lot, right? All in one. And then also, I'm building kind of more of a mini course on just hormone health, hormone balance, specifically for women. Maybe something that's evergreen or kind of low touch point, a little bit lower price point, because I have to say that my signature course, my Nourish You program, is a little more expensive. It was, like $500 for the 12-week program, which in the scheme of things is fairly cheap. But I wanted something that was a little bit lower price point, easier to maybe bring people in and get started. And I think, finding that, having that base of like the DIY offer or the lower price point to kind of then bring people up through your program ranks and always have that next stage type thing of like, oh, they finished this and they're like, I want more. What can I do next? Well, now we can, try the Nourish You program or do one-on-one. So that's kind of what I'm working on right now.
Great. So if I'm understanding, you've got your one-on-one coaching and personal training, nutrition coaching and personal training. Yep. You've got this Nourish You course that you have some sort of synchronous space time that you will coach them through. And then to support that, having things where it may be more evergreen, like you said, or it's all self-study, for example. Yeah. That's a great model.
Yeah.
Nice. And I have lost my train of thought. That happens. What was I going to ask you? I do not know. So let's hear a bit about what advice you have for, all of our group members who may be sort of on the fence about starting their practice and, maybe hearing about startup costs and like, oh my gosh, I can't really do this. I can't afford a coach. Like, what should I do? Yeah. Right. And, of course we build to that. Not everybody can, do all the things at once. Sometimes we do need to start small. What kind of advice do you have for our group members who are just trying to, at least get started?
Well, I think I was very fortunate in that I have a spouse who makes a good living. So I was able to just be like, I'm leaving this business and I'm building this one, right? Whereas I think the smartest thing for most people is probably to, keep with your 9-to-5 job if you need to really, you have to have that income coming in to pay the bills, and then just starting small. And, that can be, I don't think you necessarily have to have a website, but you need to have a way for people to be able to find you, to reach out. One thing I thought that I had a subscription for a long time was called Health Profs. And it was a nice way, as dietitians, people can actually go there when they're looking for a dietitian, right? And you can build a beautiful, bio and everything for them, tell them all about your services. And that was a nice way. But I mean, I feel like, maybe setting aside time, that can be hard to do when you're working full time, but, trying to set aside time where you just start steps slowly, what are you going to name this business? Are you going to create an LLC? How are you going to track, expenses or, income from that business? Because that's important too. Maybe even just taking, I feel like repetitions and, even just starting to take clients, setting up that virtual piece as dietitians, that's the easiest. If you're licensed into your state, try to start finding, people in the area or the niche that you want to work in. And I know that was another difficult piece when we first started of like, what do I want to do? How do I niche down? And, just finding your passion. What do you love to do? And what do you have a story? What have you gone through? Because so often that's where people build their businesses around of like you and I, it's like, yes, I'm menopausal, perimenopausal. I have had a story and a transition using strength training and nutrition to better my health. How can you, just start thinking along those lines? I don't think you need to hire a business coach immediately. I think you need to start just kind of figuring it out, and all you can do is putting one foot in front of the other and, bit by bit, start getting in repetition, start seeing people. And then I think you're going to start realizing, okay, I need this, I need that, little by little, and adding things in.
Yeah, and I think I know for me, and I see this in other people too, that we feel like, oh, more continuing education, more credentials, more letters after my name, then people will pick me. And unfortunately, that is not necessarily the case.
Mhm.
Just as an aside, did you do continuing education for perimenopause and menopause and hormone health, or is that something that you were able to sort of learn by reading and watching, other experts?
Yeah, I am a huge fan of podcasts. I think there's a podcast for everything out there that you want to know or understand about. And I feel like it's such an easy and cheap way to learn new information. Just like you said, I think that was one of the biggest things that I learned was a little bit of a kick in the pants is the fact that, but I'm an RD. Like I should just tell people I'm an RD of 28 years, but people don't necessarily care what your certifications are. There's a lot of people with no certifications out there that are doing basically the same thing you do. So it's reaching out to them, finding their pain points and telling them how you can help them with that, how you can kind of transform them and help them to better their lives versus just, like you're thinking your credentials are going to bring people to you. Cause yeah. And unfortunately it doesn't work that way. So, but I just have, funny you say that about CEUs is like my licensure I need to renew here at the end of November. And all of a sudden I went, oh my gosh, I need 45 CEUs by November 30th. So I did just do a great online like virtual kind of webinar with all these different speakers about it was on perimenopause and menopause. So that was super interesting. But I think there's so many cheaper ones out there. You don't have to spend $1 million to try to get your CEUs in. I also bought a great book from Skelly Skills that I think I get like 27 CEUs just in that one book. So definitely a way to go. And they have like books on everything that you can get for CEUs. So
Yeah, great.
yeah,
Yeah, if you
yeah,
wouldn't mind maybe either emailing me and I can post the resources, or you can
yeah,
put some of those resources too, that would be great.
absolutely.
We all want somebody who's vouched for the continuing education and ways to do this
Mhm.
a little bit.
Yeah,
Awesome.
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Kim, this has been so delightful and a nice conversation. I'm so glad we were able to finally make this work. We had a little bit of a last time we attempted this, so this is great. I
Yes.
just want to thank you so much for being here and sharing everything. It sounds like you're on a really, really great path. Yeah, and let's all support Kim and all support each other. And yeah, thanks for everyone for watching if you're here live or on the replay. And we'll see you later this week. Okay.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me.
Bye bye.
Take care.